Netflix was once the toast of the stock market and presented as a poster boy by investors everywhere. It burst onto the scene and disrupted a whole industry and sent companies like Blockbuster scrambling for cover. But recent earning figures are now telling a different story. Netflix is showing signs of flatlining, and the rest of the market, like Disney Plus and Amazon Prime, are taking huge chunks of the market. So the question has to be, what next for Netflix?
What now? Let me tell you what now.
Now, let's get one thing straight here. There's nothing wrong with the current Netflix business model, but I can't say the same for the content. All bias, ideologies, prejudice, and other excuses aside, original quality content is Netflix's Achilles heel. If memory serves me right, Achilles was an ancient equivalent of a modern Marvel or DC superhero, but without a happy ending though. It seems to me that the streaming service or service providers or companies, or call them what you want, keep forgetting that the streaming business is not only about streaming, but also about producing content. I'm also afraid that there's more than Achilles heel which can hurt Netflix's business model beyond repair and stock price recovery. There's a lack of quality original content, announcement of price increases, and a password sharing crackdown. The moment you start blaming your competitors or world current events for your poor business performance, your business model is already doomed. It's high time for Netflix to rethink its business model and strategy. This concept of just throwing everything at the wall for Netflix is not really working. And could you actually count on one hand the amount of good quality series on Netflix?
I'm sorry, I think I missed the plan part of the plan.
Most of the attention on Netflix earnings report this week has focused on the fact that the streaming leader lost subscribers for the first time in over a decade. The company's total membership numbers contracted by 200,000 in that period, and in the current quarter, management expect a net reduction of 2 million more. These results are a stark contrast to the pattern of tremendous growth that Netflix has achieved over more than 2 decades. But with the company reaching a degree of market saturation at 222 million subscribers, it's worth asking how it could grow over the long term. The answer is Netflix may have a very serious problem.
I'm not drunk. I'm festive.
So how does Netflix make its money? The Netflix business model is simple. It charges monthly subscription fees to users, with tiers based on how many simultaneous streams users want their households to be able to access. There's no need to decide between a cheaper tier with ads and a more expensive one without them. There just are no ads. It doesn't operate any theme parks and has only minimal box office releases. Total subscriptions and the prices per subscription are the only two meaningful levers of the business. The model has been incredibly successful for years, but it may have limits. Once Netflix reaches market saturation, and it may be nearing that point now, its only growth lever will be a subscription prices. That too will have limits because customers tend to be price sensitive, especially when they have numerous options, as they already do in streaming. Netflix wants to keep growing revenues and earning substantially from here. Its business model may need to be mixed up a bit.
Oh my God.
Simplicity may have been Netflix's calling card for the last 2 decades, but complexity in a content business is actually how media giants make a lot of their money. Contrast Netflix simplicity with Disney's business complexity. Here are just a few tools Disney has in its business toolkit that Netflix doesn't currently have. Advertising. Will Netflix look to find new ways to monetize content, including advertising tiers? Theme parks and toys. Disney has an enormous theme park and merchandising business that it uses to monetize its popular intellectual properties. Netflix could try to expand into these areas, but content could be a challenge. Franchises. If Netflix wants to expand into theme parks, toys, games, and other areas, will it be willing to start building more of its series' long-running franchises rather than cancelling hits after just a few seasons? Gaming. Will gaming be a significant growth driver, and how can it be an incremental revenue driver? Today Netflix is viewed on the other providers' platforms making games a more difficult launch for it would it be for a console or streaming hardware provider. But it has launched a handful of mobile games. Sports. Can Netflix expand into sports? It would make its service stickier and could allow it to boost revenue per user if done well. But Netflix hasn't shown any appetite in sports thus far.
Sports.
Netflix had the streaming video business largely to itself for about a decade, but now the big media companies are bringing their A game to it. Disney Plus has an exploding user base and a content vault that stretches back for decades, while Warner Bros. Discovery has its own prestige content and a large library of niche shows. Then there are Apple's Apple TV, Comcast Peacock, and Paramount Global's Paramount Plus. All of these companies are giants with plans to throw billions of dollars at the task of drawing in streaming video viewers, and that doesn't even consider Alphabet's YouTube TV or Amazon's Prime Video offering. I'm afraid that Netflix is now facing a growth problem with deep roots that reach back to when it single-handedly dominated streaming. The company chose at that time not to get into theme parks or sports or gaming, and now those options will be even harder for it to pursue. And investors seem to be realizing that the growth problem is bigger than it previously appeared. I'd love to hear what you think is the beginning of the end for Netflix. Can the management team at Netflix turn this around? Let me know in the comments section below.
I'm not great at the advice. Can I interest you in a sarcastic comment?
Do you think that Netflix is still the market leader, or do you think one of the other streaming services is now on top? Let me know in the comments below. There are growth options for Netflix, but none of them seem like simple or natural moves, and therein lies the core problem.